Good on you, Rebecca. It's great to have you as part of our interview series this year.
Thank you, John.
Good stuff. There's so much chatter about social media these days. Is it the answer to everything?
Certainly not the answer to everything, John. I think it's a tool that should be in the toolbox of every communicator, but it's not the silver bullet. It's good for lots of different things. People tend to focus on it as a pure communication channel, which is great. It's a way to engage directly with your customers. It's also a great way of finding out what people think about your brand. So regardless of whether you're on social media, you can track and listen to what people are saying, get a really good insight into perceptions of your brand or product. You can even test ideas with them. A lot of people are crowdsourcing ideas, whether that's a competition idea or a new product idea. I know brands over East have actually trialled social media where they've asked their consumers what flavour they want for a next product and then rolled it out. It's a really good way to engage your customer with your organisation, and it's not just good for consumer-facing brands, it's great for business-to-business brands as well.
What type of businesses should be thinking about social media as part of their toolbox?
Every type of business. Australians are amongst the biggest consumers of social media. We spend something like 7 hours a day on social media. There are 10 million of us just on Facebook. So I think if you are in business, you have a website, it is something that you should consider. I'm not saying rush out there and open a Facebook page if you are a lawyer, for example, but it is something that you should definitely take into consideration because your target audience is using it.
So what are the essentials of a good social media program?
A plan. Always have a plan. Like a Boy Scout said, be prepared, do your research first, have an understanding about what your target audience is doing online, where they're doing it. So for example, there's a platform called Pinterest, which is really gathering steam at the moment, where lots of women who are interested in lifestyle or homeware products are actually on there sharing those products via a visual means. It's like an online scrapbook. So if you're a fashion retailer, this is a great place for you to be. Or if you are an architectural firm, you might want to look at LinkedIn because there are discussion boards on LinkedIn where peers and potential clients are asking questions that are directly relevant to your business.
Despite all that, a lot of people are frightened of social media. Should they be?
I can understand why they're frightened. It is very different to the old means of communicating. The traditional PR or advertising is very much about broadcasting and not necessarily listening and taking on board what your consumers or your target audience are saying about you. With social media, that filter, I suppose, is not there anymore. People can say what they like, when they like, and how often, and it can spread. So I can definitely understand why businesses are nervous. That shouldn't stop them. They should take the time to do their planning, research into what their target audience are doing online, putting a proper plan in place, so understanding what they want to say, how they want to say it, and actually resource it properly. If you resource it properly, then you're in a position to manage it. And actually you get some really great comments or insights or feedback just from being online.
It has been suggested that social media is a bit like replacing the coffee table with the desktop or the laptop. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's an interesting analogy. It is very much like having a conversation where you would sit down with a friend or a colleague and converse over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. There is obviously the ability to magnify that conversation. So where you're in a coffee shop, you know, that conversation is just happening between a few people, and yes, you might go outdoors and communicate to friends or colleagues through word of mouth what that conversation was, but social media amplifies it. What you say online could potentially reach millions of people.
So that's your 6 big questions, Rebecca. Thanks.
Thanks, John.